when they were trying to attain a goal. And I was in 3rd grade. My mom remembers me coming home and saying, "Mom, I want to be a doctor." My mom and dad never said, "No, you can't do that. You know, you should consider something else." And over the years, I've spoken to a lot of other doctors who are older than I am, but they were actually told, "No, you can't be a doctor. You need to choose another career." So, and I even remember one time I was in 7th grade, there was a guest speaker, and he kind of posed a question to the class and said, "What do you guys want to be when you grow up?" Oh man, I was all over this one because, you know, I already known for years what I wanted to be. I was so eager, so excited, one of the first people to raise up my hand and say, "I'm going to be a doctor." And I could see the doubt in this guy's eyes, the hesitation as he started to say, "Well, it's really tough to become a doctor." Well, let me tell you this, if you happen to become a doctor, you come back and you tell me you became a doctor. Now, I still know who this guy is. I still haven't gone up to him and said, "Hey, I became a doctor." I just figured, you know, it doesn't really matter. All I know is that it was my goal, my dream. Doesn't matter what the guy thought, whether he could, I couldn't. But I did do it. The reason why I wanted to become a doctor was because in 3rd grade, your vision's a little bit limited, your scope of what you can do to help people. And that was it. I always tell my mom, I want to help people. That's why I wanted to be a doctor. It was my love to help other people, do something more than just for yourself. And that's really the main reason why I chose it. And growing up, I didn't have it into Dr. Bolon. That would have been awesome. You know, so I didn't have the help, the guidance. And nowadays, it's so much different. There are so many, you know, more Indian doctors out there. There are at least a few hundred. Still, we are less than 5% of the overall current physicians in the U.S. I did have a hero growing up, though. My hero was Jim Thorpe. I remember as a kid reading a book that talked about Jim Thorpe, the accomplishments that he made. And though I didn't aspire to be an Olympic athlete, the best athlete to exist, what I took away from him was he had this vision, he had a dream, and he pursued it. So that's what I took from my hero. And also in retrospect, when I look back, I noticed that medicine runs in my family. My maternal great-grandmother, Lola Duncan, is a Skull Valley Goshen, and she was a midwife who delivered babies on the upper reservation of my tribe, the Goshen Reservation. My father's grandmother, who raised him, was also a medicine woman, and she was also a hand trembler, so she also assisted in people with healing. So I kind of feel like I'm carrying on both sides of my family tradition by being a healer. Some of the struggles I went through in college, there were classes that were challenging. I graduated from Window High School, which everyone knows, I don't think everyone knows what that's about, but it's a very small high school, 1A in terms of the gradings of the high school. I lived on the reservation. We traveled 65 miles or more every day to and from school. So I had these, and I knew I had to prepare to take classes that prepared me to be a doctor. Yes, I could have took classes where I could have slept off or take funner or easier classes, but I knew if I was going to be a doctor, I had to take these harder courses. And coming from a smaller school makes it a little bit harder to get you well prepared for a large university. But I took these classes, I studied hard. And what helped me out was, you go to this big university, there's a lot of people who started out pre-med or pre-dental, and you start basically with basic general chemistry. As the year goes on, you start weeding out the students. So by the time you get to your 2nd year and you're in organic chemistry, you kind of look around and say, I remember seeing this student, you know, last year in some of my labs. And you make good friendships and bond with them. And we ended up making study groups together, which really, really helped me succeed well in school. Another tool that helped me in my undergraduate, when I went to the University of Utah, was the success organization that is Center for Ethnic Student Affairs. It was so nice to have an American advisor there. She gave all the students their enormous support. And that is really, really needed when you are far away from home and you don't have any family. It makes a big difference. As well as the other students who were there. We all come together, we kind of all had our own story. We all were there to help encourage each other. It really did make a big difference in my life as well. Another thing I did was participate in a different organization. They had an intramural student organization where I was the vice president and president 1 year. We also had intramural sports. This was pretty fun because we would have an all-Indian women's basketball team, an all-women's volleyball team. We had a co-ed softball team. So once again, very tight bonding that was there to help me get me through my undergraduate. As well, sometimes it was difficult financially. I was pretty lucky, I think. I had quite a few scholarships. Sometimes they weren't enough. You know, luckily, my tribe as well helped assist me when I was going to school, my undergraduate and graduate school, so those are always very important to students. When I got to medical school, now I wish I could say that was easy. It was not. It was just the opposite. There were times where I actually did have to repeat my test just to pass my class. And there were times where you just felt like, oh, why am I here? What am I doing? I feel like I'm killing myself learning. And sometimes you had to seek inspiration at this point. You had to just, you know, whether it was a song or a movie or someone you really looked up to, you had to really think hard about it and say, I can do it. It is within me. I did not have this dream for how many years to give up. Sometimes I would take inspiration from Nelson Mandela. He's a prominent figure in my life. And I just want to read a quote for you on his A Long Walk to Freedom. I have walked the long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way, but I have discovered that the secret after climbing a great hill, one only finds there are many more hills to climb. I've taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not be more. For my walk is not over. And that also helped with my spirit to say, okay, you know, people have overcome more. I can do this. So then I started thinking, well, there's also people who failed and then eventually succeeded. One of these people you may or may not know of this fetish is Abraham Lincoln. We don't really typically connect failure with him, but I'm going to read a few facts about Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was born into poverty. He faced defeat throughout his whole life. He lost 8 elections, failed in 2 businesses twice. He suffered a nervous breakdown after the loss of his wife. He could have quit many times, but he didn't. And because he didn't, he became one of the country's greatest presidents in the history of the United States. Another struggle that I faced was being alone. I went to North Dakota for medical school. Now, medical school itself is quite challenging and difficult as it is, but then you take the component of no family, no friends, and no connections. That was a new challenge for me. Once again, for my undergraduate, I was really lucky. I had a brother and a sister who was already at the University of Utah who showed me the ropes. They took me to my classes and said, before the classes start, here's your classroom right here. So on my day of class, I knew where to go. Told me kind of what the best things were to get. Said, don't waste your money on buying the new books. You know, you're still got the same information in the used books. So they were a great wealth of information for me, and I do appreciate that. In the University of North Dakota, they have an Indians in the Medicine program, just like they kind of have the CES organization in the University of Utah. And they were, once again, a huge support for me. Anytime I needed anything, they were there. If I had something wrong with my car, the director himself would take a look at it. If I was really just wanted a good homemade meal, they were provided for me. They were there for me every step of the way. And they never let me down.